Very much for being here tonight. We really appreciate the opportunity to come up and speak to the neighbors and community in Shandaken with respect to the proposed rail project.
Who are you? Can you introduce
I'm
yourself?
going to do that, sir, if you give me a little time.
Oh, take your time.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate when we start this, we're going to try not to take comments until we're finished. And then we have some high level comments. We have names here to deal with that. So my name is Dennis Doyle. I'm the planning director for the county. Excuse me, I'm the planning director for the county. I am also something that in NISDOT speak known as the responsible local official. We also have here tonight Kristen Wilson from the county planning office as well. She's the deputy county planning director. And Kristen is the project manager. We have our consultants here tonight, Tom Baird from Barton and LaJudas, and Chris Hannett, also from Barton and LaJudas. They're the consultants tonight on that. We also have other consultants which are not here tonight that have been doing the survey work and the mapping work and some of the historical work relative to the project right now. We also have a number of other sponsors or collaborators or partners with respect to make sure this project can go forward. They include the Department of Environmental Conservation, New York State Olympic, I always call it ORDA, a regional development authority. We also have the town of Shandaken is also a partner with us. New York State DOT is a partner. They're funding a portion of this work. The Ulster County, the U.S. Department of Transportation, and we have a fairly long list of people that are on the advisory committee. I'm going to ask the members of the advisory committee if they do, could they stand, please, if they're here? So thank you very much for participating. They are an integral part of making sure that we can move forward successfully with respect to the project. Next slide. So tonight's agenda, we're going to go through the meeting purpose. We're going to try to give you a sense of what our project objectives are, of the limits and scope of the project, so you know from where to where it extends. A timeline in terms of where we are now and when we expect to go through the necessary approvals so that we get to construction. A lot of the funding and federal requirements that are associated with the project, the existing conditions and project alternatives. We're currently in the preliminary design phase with respect to the project. And last but not least, we're going to have questions and discussions. I'm going to ask everyone to hold those questions and discussions. We'll take questions that are people that have signed up at the end of this. And then what we'd like to try to do is meet with you individually at the various stations to address your concerns. We also have comment forms up here for you to fill out. And I would also direct you to a project page that is on a website called Participate Ulster. And this presentation will be on that website. And you'll also be able to make comments associated with the project on that website as well. Okay, next. So how did we get here? I think that's the biggest question that people start to wonder, how we got from essentially an abandoned railroad corridor to where we are today. And one of the things that is the guiding principle with respect to how we got here is a resolution that was passed by the county legislature in 2015. It was resolution 488. And that resolution designated portions of the Ulster and Delaware corridor that would be rail with trail, portions of the corridor that would be trail only, and there was a portion of the railroad corridor that was undecided at that particular point in time. If you look at this portion of the railroad corridor, and you can see it up on the left-hand side from High Mount down to where we're looking at on Route 28, that portion was designated by the county legislature as trail only, and we've been tasked with the job of making sure that we can implement that policy. And when, in terms of implementing that policy, we conducted a feasibility study on a trail only project in this location. We also then applied for a federal grant for something called a TAP grant. We received that funding. We're now under contract with New York State Department of Transportation to do preliminary design. That'll lead to final design, which will lead to construction and bid documents associated with the trail. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to our consultants to explain where we are, what they've done so far, and move us through to the end of this presentation. So thank you again for being here. And again, my name is Dennis Doyle. and I'm the planning director for the county. No, you won't do this.
All right, everyone hear me all right? Hopefully. All right, thank you, Dennis. My name is Chris Hannett. I'm with Barton and LaJudas Engineering. They're a consulting engineering firm that was hired to design this project. So we were also the design engineers on the Shandaken Rail Trail as well. So if you guys are familiar with that, Tom and I both worked on that along with Dennis as well. So project objectives here, improve motorized transportation opportunities for the communities. And really the unique aspect on this trail is the connections that we can make here throughout the between both High Mount, the DEC mountainside there, and the mountains that Orta has and the trails on that as well. So we really want to make those connections and make that stand out. Improve recreational activities and improve the local community as well. So project area, I saw some of you looking at these maps right here, but we go right up from Galley Kershey Road up in High Mount, down to the Bellard Beach Day Use area, right at the Giggle Hollow Bridge. So there are two bridge structures on this. We call it Woodchuck Hollow Bridge and the Giggle Hollow Bridge. And we also highlight two trailheads on this map as well, that we plan on installing. One at the top there at High Mount and the other one will complement the facilities that are already in use at the Bellard Beach Day Use area. So as Dennis mentioned, right now, we are in the preliminary engineering phase at the public info meeting. We started with this project at the feasibility study that started in 2020. We developed a study on that, did a small presentation on that, and that study included the 5 miles of this trail all the way from Big Indian up to the High Mount. So as Dennis mentioned, we got the New York State TAP Award in 2022 in June. And we completed survey right now, environmental studies, and right now preliminary design, public info meeting. And hope to start construction on this next spring in 2025. So as long as we can get all the approvals together and design, hopefully we can make that happen. So. Yeah. So again, transportation alternative program. So the county was awarded roughly 4.2 million, I believe, for that. I heard that. Oh, 3.9 million. I'm sorry, looking at the wrong numbers. 3.9 million in total, 650,000 for design, 3.9 for construction, and the county
Yes, local share.
local share
We're
just
still
under
looking at how that local share is going to be met.
$1 million for the local share.
Yeah, and that grant's competitive. It's not just handed out. You have to submit on it and compete with hundreds of other projects in the area. They award 5 or 6 projects per area, out of usually about 100 on the average per area. So it is competitive. So we had to really do a lot of work to prove it could be built, prove that it's a viable project, prove the benefits, and that in the feasibility study and as part of the application, because you know, it's tough to get money out there right now, and it's an important part of having this is doing that study, initial study, to show that it can actually be done. Because the elected officials of that, they don't want to sponsor a project that will never get built. So that's part of the process.
Yes, having that feasibility study was very imperative to get that grant. So as part of that federal requirement as well as federal funding, we also have to meet federal requirements for design and environmental review. So we have the NEPA process, National Environmental Policy Act. We also have to follow the state Environmental Quality Review Act. Section 7, threatened endangered species review, section 106, cultural historic resources, and public participation, which is where we are today. So what are some of the benefits of the
How come
trail?
there's no mention of property which abuts.
Sir.
And you have endangered
Excuse me,
species.
sir.
We've got lots of people that have bought property. I don't.
Excuse me,
any
we're gonna hold questions
consider
till after the
any
presentation.
Consideration for that.
Sir, if you would hold your questions, we'll take them in, we'll take them in
Is
the
there any
end.
consideration?
We haven't even gotten started yet, so let us complete the presentation and then after that, we can have a chat.
Please hold the microphone closer to your mouth, we can
Yes.
hear you.
Okay, will do. Yes, if I am too quiet, please let me know. I'll try to speak up. So again, benefits of a trail, what are they? Well, if anyone's been to the Ashokan or any other trails that Ulster County has, which are over 75 miles, I believe, in the county. Studies have been done, trails have proven to provide a direct medical benefit. And people are 49% more likely to meet recommended daily activity levels if they live near a trail. And on average, local trail users spend $3 to $15 a day, and non-local users spend $15 to $35 per day per trip. Just in 2023 alone, approximately 143,000 people visited the Ashokan Rail Trail alone.
That was, I believe the first year was about 500,000 there, and it was a spike during 2020 during the COVID time.
Yeah.
And a number of businesses have popped up along Route 28 and others have expanded. So I think the example there is also something that we expect to see here as well.
So again, talking about some of the connections that this trail offers, here's two maps right here, one of the Bel Air mountainside, another of that Bel Air from DEC's perspective, so showing some of the trail connections that may be made possible by this construction of this rail trail. So what is it gonna take to transform this corridor from a railroad corridor right now with the railroad tracks in place into a trail that people will be able to ride and hike and bike on? So far, we've done a existing conditions assessment of the corridor. We found wooden ties and ballast stone are still there, but in very poor condition right now. We do have enough usable width to construct the trail through there. There are frequent access points throughout. Both grid structures are can be repurposed for the construction of the trail, and for pedestrian use and trail use instead of railroad use. And we do have some drainage improvements that need to be made as well, including a sinkhole, but in general, the conversion of this corridor into a trail does not really pose any major challenges. Environmental reviews, we performed the threatened endangered species review and did not find any critical habitats or endangered species within the corridor. And we also did find a delineated wetland in the corridor as well up by the High Mountain area. So we will minimize disturbances to that wetland and remain under Army Corps set thresholds for that. We also do have water courses that are found adjacent to the tracks in many areas as well, so we will have to minimize impacts to those in order to meet our requirements of that. We also have a list of anticipated permits and approvals right here. Some of USACE, Army Corps, and DEC permits. The approval from New York City Department of Environmental Protection through the SWIFT, highway work permit from DOT, and coordination with SHPO, and that is through DOT as well.
Yeah, those permits, nothing, very straightforward. So as far as the environmental impact on here, no significant impact, no impact on various portions of it. Will minimal impact on the wetland, but everything else within the corridor itself, we keep the work area confined, just like on the Ashokan. And we won't have any issues with environmental impacts on the project.
Yep. Just a quick overview of the drainage that we found out there. This is a picture of a culvert pipe that has been collapsed, a steel culvert pipe. There's also a stone and mortar culvert pipe that we found at the exit of the Bel Air, one of the Bel Air snowmaking ponds that has collapsed, and it looks like it was somebody tried to repair it at one point. But that has collapsed to form a sinkhole on top of the railroad bed there, so that needs to be place, and, any replacement that we would do there, would be upsized accordingly to meet, the anticipated high flow storms and everything that we've seen recently that have caused a lot of washouts, in the area. So anything that we do will be resilient to any change that we, has been seen in the past couple of years. As mentioned before, we do have the two bridges on the corridor, the Woodchuck Hollow Bridge and Pine Hill, adjacent to Station Road and Main Street, or spanning Main Street, sorry. And then the Giggle Hollow Bridge, that's found in the Bella Beach Day Use area, up the hill. That one's a really unique bridge being so tall up there. Woodchuck Hollow Bridge, built in 1896, according to the cornerstone on it. That's pretty unique there. I believe that bridge is about 80 feet long, and again, we didn't find any, in our preliminary investigations, we're gonna do a full load rating assessment on that bridge to determine if we can, or what we would have to do to repair it and rehab it for use by construction vehicles and for emergency vehicles that may need to access the trail as well. So we're gonna use that. Our intent is to reuse the existing steel girders that are there now, make any necessary abutment or repairs, pier repairs to the bridge, and add either a concrete or wooden deck to the bridge with pedestrian safety rails as well. So Giggle Hollow Bridge, this one, generally the same idea as this one. But as I said before, this one is really unique, being so tall. It's about 40 feet above stream level there. Very, very scenic bridge, and I think it'll really provide some scenic views of the Ballard Beach Day Use area and the valley there as well, once we are able to provide access to it.
Yeah, important on that too, is that we want to preserve the history of the bridges. So the steel generally stay the same. There'll be some minor repairs, as Chris said, to the piers, but keep the character, keep it feeling like it did, like it was a railroad bridge, with the trail on top of it. Do the best we can. We have to, of course, have modern rail systems. If any of you have been to Boyceville, there's a number of different things going on there. But all of that, a lot of that is to try to work in the safety requirements of it, as well as trying to keep some of the railroad historic features of it, to keep a look to it the best we can, kind of compromising between the current requirements. We want to see a steel bridge rail like on Route 28 out on here, right? So, those are the kinds of things that will carry through on this as well. So. The surface course, well, there's a number of options, but we're gonna, our preferred right now, not our final decision, but our preferred decision is to use a stone surface course as well. It really works out well on some of these trails. It's great for bikes, and we won't be plowing it in the winter time, cross-country skiing. But the surface course will be a slight modification from what's on the Ashokan. There's around a little bit of a slope here, so we're gonna change the stone design down a little bit. But it generally will be the same type of surface course that's out on the other trail. We've got our interpretive panels, the bridges will have a deck that looks like the surface course. We did some epoxy things on the butternut bridge as well. So pretty much the same character, same feel with the stone surface course, and it's proven to last for a good amount of time so far, so.
Yeah, the grade on this trail is roughly 2.7% running slope. Ashokan is essentially flat in most areas. And we've used this surface course on grades up to 10%, I believe, with no issues, so.
Minnewaska State Park, Mohawk Preserve, Rockefeller Estate, Garytown, and it's a special mix, but 2% is kind of, if you go out to the road, which I don't recommend you doing right now. But if you walk from the edge of the road to the center line, that's about 2%. So I'll give you that feel, but please, I'm not saying, do not walk on the road. I'm not condoning that at the moment, so.
It's a high speed road. So as we mentioned, we do have two concept ideas right now for trailheads. Again, these are all concepts, we're working with the involved agencies on both. locations here at both at Bel Air Beach day use area, and then up here looking at the county and then, Orda as well, for the trailhead. So, right now there's a gravel parking lot right off Valley Piercy Road up there, right by the big Bel Air sign. So the idea right now is to, formalize that gravel parking area, into a either paved or gravel parking lot with delineated spaces. Roughly, this concept shows 37, and will probably end up being less than that. But, you know, that's the idea right now. Also important to note on this slide is that both sets of railroad tracks in this area will be maintained, and maintained in place and will not be removed from this project. Roughly 930 feet, past that, past the road crossing there, that's where those railroad tracks would terminate. And that is, in accordance with, an agreement that Ulster County has with the Delaware and Ulster Railroad, to preserve those railroad tracks and, use them into the future for their railroad operations, so they can come to the top of the hill at Pine Mountain, switch the train around and head back into, Delaware.
Yeah, the blue line there is the trail, Chris, correct?
Yeah, so the blue line would go, the trail would go next to those railroad tracks, and provide enough room, the existing platform will remain there as well. So. At the other end of the trail project, these are two concepts that we have right now at the Bel Air Beach day use area. These are both off of Friendship Manor Road, next to the covered bridge, and the entrance into the Bel Air Beach day use area. We're working about 15 to 20 parking spaces in this area right now, depending on that layout. So, and that is in the land, that is owned by, Orla as of right now. Again, this trail, has a lot of history. This area has a lot of history. Just doing some online searches and walking the corridor as well. You know, there's existing railroad infrastructure up here, old abutment from a bridge crossing and the Whittle Post that, I believe is a quarter mile from each road crossing. No, not a railroad expert. I assume that meant to blow their whistle as they approach the road. We also have the foundation remains in Pine Hill, not too far from Station Road that, served as the Crystal Springs bottling plant, and foundation there. And we had a conveyor that ran up the hill and would ship, bottled water down to New York City, by railroad. Gable Hollow Bridge, of course, and up in Pine Mountain Grand Hotel, which was right across the street from, right across Route 28 now, from where that Pine Mountain station is. That was a very large hotel. People would come up from New York City and everything, take the train up into the Catskills.
Yeah, one thing on the historic too, if I could add, Chris, is that, we certainly don't have all the history here, and we may not know also if you have any on the comment forms. Something that you would like to see recognized from the past in the history. We're gonna have nice panels on kiosks, just like the other trail. And we're looking for ideas and things that are important that we may not find or may not be hitting on with enough importance. So, you know, let us know what that could be and fill in the comment form, send a comment in online. But that'll be very helpful, to have that as well.
Yep, just a couple other historical interpretation opportunities that we've noted, of course, the Delaware and Ulster Railroad, or Ulster and Delaware Railroad, the whole length of it, we would have an opportunity to, highlight that history of that, Catskill Park and Forest Preserve up there. Bel Air Mountain opened in around 1950 or so, I believe, and, has been serving hundreds of thousands of people since. And on the railroad again, the double horseshoe curve, which at the time was considered an engineering marvel, just considering the amount of grade that, the railroad made up. I believe what I read is that if it was to go straight, it would have to traverse another 100 feet in elevation. Instead, it does that over a mile or so, about half mile, instead along that curve, so it can maintain that 2.7% grade. So it's pretty neat. A lot of fill into that, a lot of engineering. So
Also, at midnight tonight, we're gonna have a seminar on how the tracks were designed with the curbs and the banking, if anyone wants to stay later after that, so.
You didn't tell me about that.
Here's my ride home, so. I don't-
Yeah. Hopefully no one stays till that. Just another quick map showing, historical opportunities and where some of those are located. So again, Highmount Grand Hotel, right up here in Highmount, off to the north. Double horseshoe curve kind of sits right in the middle there, Bel Air Ski Center, Crystal Spring Water Company, right in Pine Hill there, Eagle Hollow Bridge, Old Catskill Mountain, Wild Forest Boundary, and then of course the railroad. So that is the end of the technical part of the presentation that we have. Again, there are opportunities to submit your questions online. I have a website here and a QR code that you can scan with your phones. And this whole presentation, I believe the recording of the presentation and then the slideshow will both be posted onto the website, the county website. So, Kristen?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. I just want to mention, there's been a couple of questions that have come in online as well about adjacent landowners. So we are offering one-on-ones with adjacent landowners. And if you would like, if you are a landowner that's adjacent, directly adjacent to the trail, you can sign up with Colleen in the back of the room. And then we will contact you to set up a time for a one-on-one meeting with the project design team. So if you have concerns or thoughts about your own property next to the trail, make sure you sign up with Colleen. And then those of you who are online, please send me an email to the email that I put in the chat. Or you can also indicate in the chat if you'd like to set up a meeting. So we're going to move on now to a question and answer session. It's going to be about 30 minutes. It's going to be limited. And those of you who signed up for that to speak or ask questions at the beginning with Colleen when you walked in, I will take one question from the room and then one question from Zoom. And we're going to go back and forth like that. And I'm going to let, who wants to stand here and answer the questions?
We do it, yeah, so we'll do it behind you, so.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah.
There was no indication we needed to sign up to ask a question when we came in. So I do have questions, but I didn't sign up.
So-
Yeah, we're gonna,
Depending how the time goes, we'll let that happen, but I would say that you
But there
have
was
an
no
opportunity.
indication when I came in.
May I, sir? May I finish? We'll be happy to answer your questions one-on-one, so that we have that opportunity to address this. We'll be happy to meet with you one-on-one. Is that okay?
Yeah, I was just saying that I did have questions. I don't want to be the last person to have to ask my question.
Okay.
And I have a general question. This is only phase one. Are you gonna go into phase 2 and 3 at this meeting, or are we going into that at a later date?
Later date, the only thing we're discussing today is essentially the trail that runs from Giggle Hollow, or the Bel Air Use area up into Gallagher's Europe. That's the only discussion that's here today.
That's the only thing we have funding for right now as well. So that, the rest of it is not a project.
That's not going to fully fund this.
so I just want to mention that we're doing this efficiently with 30 minutes of question and answer in the room. And then we're going to split up. I'm going to be on the Zoom, answering questions on the Zoom. And you can go around and you can speak directly with Chris and Tom and Dennis. Check out the maps and ask your questions more directly. So, but we want to just do 30 minutes as a public, in a public manner. So the first one is, the first one is Michael Boyer. Mike, there's it.
I have something I'd like to read. Sure, Mike. Let me give you.
Oh, and 3 minutes. We have 3 minutes.
Directly into this?
I appreciate it.
Yeah. There you go.
Good evening.
Good evening. First, I would like to say this meeting is somewhat flawed in that not all residents whose land abuts the track received notice of this meeting, as some of us have. As far as the trail is concerned, it will be an unnatural trail through a canopy forest They'll be mainly for people who can afford to vacation in the Catskills. There are multitudes of DDC trails throughout these mountains on which anyone can enjoy real nature while getting exercise. For people who are less energetic or disabled, there are quiet dirt roads in every town where they can experience not only a richer sense of nature, seeing many more birds, animals, and flora, but also gaining a sense of life in these parts, and maybe even meeting the person who lives here, possibly enriching both people. Spending over $10 million, and we all know budgets are routinely overrun, for an unnecessary trail is an insult to people who have no home or sufficient food to eat. Our roads are like driving on the moon. Our historically registered stone arch bridges in Pine Hill are crumbling. Repair what we have first before starting something new. Some will say this money comes from a different pot, but we all know all money comes from the same pot, filled by all of our tax money. This expenditure would better be used addressing more pertinent issues instead of Disneyfying the town. In addition, taxes would inevitably increase for upkeep and emergency services, which was a rallying issue with the mega golf plan. Small, quiet, historic rural towns are a disappearing landscape, evidenced by Hunter's renovation, and have a unique beauty all their own that everyone can appreciate if only they look for it. Thank you.
Okay, the next person who is on the list, actually, we're gonna go to the Zoom. It was Tony's iPad. So let's see.
Don't stop sharing.
Tony's iPad. I'm going to allow you to talk. Tony, did you have a question?
You're muted, Tony.
You're muted. You need to unmute.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I'd like to give this question over to, or this time over to Ron, who's in the audience.
Okay, I'm sorry, who?
Ron,
Ron?
Oh, hey, Tony.
Okay, so, just so you're all aware, I am timing for 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes to make your comment, and then my timer will go off, or your question. And then we will move on to the next one.
thanks, Tony.
Okay, I think I represent a lot of people here whose property abuts the trail. I've received no indication from you all. I didn't see anything up here that there was even a consideration for the folks who live here. We've got a small, beautiful, historic hamlet. There seems to be 2 parking areas with a total of about 40 spots to accommodate 500,000 people. I don't know about you guys, but something doesn't sound right to me. We already have a trail. We've got a beautiful trail. We walk it every day. To pour concrete on there to the cost of $10 million and also create unnecessary traffic and, as somebody said, Disneyfy a historic town without any input from any of us, by the way, I think is an outrage. And, you know, somebody like myself, I've probably 400 feet of frontage. I go right up to the bridge over there in Pine Hill. I was not told that. I was in fact told the opposite, that this is an unused trail when I bought the house in 2017. So that's my major investment. Now suddenly 400 feet of people traveling to the tune of, you said 500,000 people? No, you said the first year was half a million.
We don't expect that many here.
You expect 150,000. I mean, what? Huh?
Give us a number.
Yeah, give us a number.
We're working on that right now.
Well, you've got 30 parking spots for 30 people, maybe 60 people. Where else, aside from like Pine Hill and our small little hamlet, in this little one-lane road that goes right up to, you know, one of the, what do you call it, access points. I mean, we're gonna be inundated with cars parking there. Right now, it's a one-lane road that's not even paved. I mean, I've been living there with dirt, you know? So, I think that this whole thing just hasn't been the consideration. We've had no input on this, as far as I know. And we've got a trail. How often do you use the trail, Michelle?
Every day.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to use the trail, by all means, be our guest. But to start bringing in hundreds and thousands of people supposedly, I mean, how many of these rail trails do we need? I'd rather have an ice skating rink. I mean, there's other stuff we can do if we're creative that isn't going to affect so many people and really litter a beautiful historic hamlet. It literally historic hamlet. You know, that's how I feel. I don't know how other voters and taxpayers feel, but that's, you know. You disagree?
No, let me say one last thing, one last thing.
Okay.
Sorry, that's time. Thank you.
So I'm not against progress, but you know, somebody like myself I probably have more frontage than anybody else. I don't want to have to be the person sacrificed. No, you might have more.
So if I can, sir.
So those of us don't want to sacrifice,
I hear
you know, and we're all in favor of, you know, progress and whatnot. But some accommodation of us and, you know, some acknowledgement that we have financial stake. This is our home. We also live there. You know, would be, I think, appreciated.
Well, thank you for your comment. One of the things I would say is that these types of concerns, we should have a conversation one-on-one. We're certainly.
Okay, the next person is Marcia Pearson.
I don't have a whole lot to say that everybody else doesn't want to say also. I have about a quarter mile of bordering the railroad. One wraps around half of my property. I have 2 dogs. They bark whenever anybody walks by. Lasher Road goes right through the middle of my property. And there are always people walking up and down Lasher Road because it's beautiful. But it's Lasher Road. It's a road. The railroad is right behind my house. It's about 15 feet behind my house. And anybody walking down there can be looking in my living room windows and my bedroom windows. So that's my concerns. Other people have the same. There's a concern about emergency vehicles. What happens when somebody gets injured on the trail and they have to have access at the closest point, which could be walking straight through my yard? I have no faith in people that don't live here not dropping their garbage wherever they want. And I guarantee to you that that is going to attract things that we don't want. I had a bear on my patio 2 days ago. I didn't leave my garbage out, so he didn't come back. My dog jumped a coyote just 3 days after the PBPH2 meeting. So there is a lot of wildlife there. I want to know what happens when somebody is walking their little dog down the trail and the coyote jumps it. Who's responsible for that? I want to know when somebody gets injured and they come down into my property to get some help and my dog bites them. Who's responsible for that? My property goes from the trestle at Lasher Road over to the other side of the Esopus. What happens when somebody falls in the Esopus or thinks, ooh, it's so nice, it's a hot day, I'm gonna go jump in? Well, they're walking on my property to do it. Now they're gonna twist their ankle or whatever else. Who's responsible for that? Ultimately, it might be them. But who's gonna stop them from suing me because they were on my property, which is gonna cost me money? I can't afford a lawyer. I bought this house,
You have about 30 seconds.
I bought this house about 25 years ago with every last penny I had to come up here and be in the peace and quiet of the Catskill Mountains. And you're gonna send everybody else walking through my backyard and looking through my bedroom windows? I don't think so.
Nope.
I think we're gonna do something about it.
Yeah, I think.
I really do. And this group of people here, I think is all gonna stand behind me and we're all gonna do something about it.
The next person will be Sam Linton. Next person will be Sam Linton from online. Okay, Sam. You should be able to unmute now, Sam.
There? Yes.
Sam, are you able to unmute? Okay, I'm gonna move on to online, Harold Augenbraun. So Harold, I'm allowing you to unmute to ask a question.
Well, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
The main question I had was the cost of the entire project, because we are talking about if we do the first part of the project, I'm assuming that the second part of the project is something that's being considered wildly. And that is with the increase in costs of construction over the past 4 or 5 years, the original estimate was $10.2 million from High Mount to the Big Indian Park. But according to the estimates of construction inflation costs for construction, by the time you break ground sometime in mid-2025, if that's when you do it, the cost will go up by about 50%. So what we're talking about is more like a $15 or $16 million project for a 5-mile trail from High Mount to Big Indian. Isn't that right? So it's about $15 million. It's not $10 million anymore, because that was gauged in 2020 dollars before the inflationary period. So what was the real cost going to be for this project if you configure it now?
For the current project, about $5 million. We're only doing the first phase of the project. Yes, we do know that construction costs have gone up. Those have been accounted for in the revised estimate. We've also taken a lot of construction experience from the Shandaken Rail Trail to reduce costs and do things more efficiently on this project. So we're working towards keeping that inflation under control. Of course, that can't be controlled entirely, but this cost here is roughly about $5 million because we're not building the whole thing just yet.
So excuse me, I'm sorry. So the $5 million is for how long a trail? 2.5 miles?
2.5, yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Harold. We're gonna move on to Jerry Melnick.
Yeah. Similar to Marshall's concern, that the creation of the trail will totally destroy the privacy of the property. People can walk by, look in the windows, but anywhere on the property is now open, in terms of the public. And I think that's a great decrease in terms of the value and the financial value of my property to have that going through there. And I haven't heard anything at all to address the concerns of the people living alongside. What can you do to restore that privacy in my home?
We also remind everyone that we're looking to have individual appointments so we can spend and focus directly onto your particular needs. Your needs maybe and what you really want to see are a little different than somebody else's. We don't want to broadly just put out, this is what we're going to do, this is how we can help you. Not everybody's gonna agree. That's why we wanna meet with you individually. This information meeting is looking for your opinions. Well, yeah, okay.
Community, so we're all speaking for one another.
If you would like to all meet as one, that's fine. But this meeting, excuse me, this meeting is to hear your opinions. You haven't been asked yet, but this is part of the process. And this is how we're looking for your feedback. We have comment forms here. We have voices being heard right now. This is where we want to know what your concerns are and what we can do, because we're still in the preliminary phase. We are not in final design. Nothing is set in stone here at all. The only thing is the surface of the trail is not concrete. It's gonna be stone, okay? And it's gonna be ADA compliant. You can't have anybody with a wheelchair running on the tracks right now. Our trail will be compliant with people with disabilities. That's another important thing to think about.
ADA compliant is 36.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not, this is a managed public comment period or public.
Just getting it out, so we have.
Yeah, so the next person on the list is Vivian Welton, and she is online. I will let her speak. So if everyone can be patient for a moment. And Welton, you should be able to speak now, Vivian.
Okay, I wasn't, I did not put my name on the list to speak. I'm here to listen and learn, so I will pass that on to the next person. Thank you.
Okay, the next person online is Lisa Schock. I will allow Lisa to speak.
Hi, I don't want to, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. I don't want to reiterate a lot of what's been said, but I'm in total agreement with Ron from Pine Hill who spoke, from Marcia, with Marcia. I have a house in Big Indian for 25 years. My property doesn't completely abut the trail, but it's very close. My privacy will be greatly affected. My house is my retirement. I live in New York City. I'm still working, but all my money for retirement is in my house. Is my property value going to go down? Are my property taxes going to go up to pay for construction, to pay for maintenance? I hate to be so small-minded. I want to be community-minded, but I don't understand. I love a rail trail. I think we have maybe enough. I don't understand how this is going to benefit Pine Hill, Big Indian. I can think of so many other ways to spend 10 million, maybe 15 million, as the last gentleman pointed out, to rejuvenate our area. I think this is someone's fantasy that has just become an obsession. And I don't think that the natives or even people who live there are in favor of it. And it's just very sad to me. Thank you. And I would really like an individual session.
I'm sorry, Lisa, we didn't hear the last thing you said.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes. Can you say the
I
last-
I would really like to make an individual appointment with someone.
Okay, yes, I noted that online and I have your.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next person on the in-person room is Michelle Wooten.
Did I sound okay, honey? Oh, you missed me. God damn it.
Let me. One moment, Lisa, let me just mute you.
Oh, dear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. We all have this, we're all looking at this, and but I'm thinking to make everybody happy, have the county work with you guys. But instead of making it a freeway through the woods, take it, put it, fill in the tracks, work with your neighbors. I think they could make a really good thing here where everybody can be happy. We don't need, where we live, we don't need a freeway. We have the double horseshoe, We have a lot of really beautiful area up in there, but to make a freeway through the woods that's crazy. And if you did something where you could keep it small enough where it's in compliance, then these folks would probably be happy. You could work with these people, everybody could get along, and it would work out better. There's no reason why you guys wanna do this and these want, and it's gonna be a pissing match. It's better to work with everybody, and it can work out. You guys, another question, I am the chair of the Pine Hill Water Company. I did not notice one thing that you guys mentioned of the Pine Hill Water Company. We have that, gravity fed springs. We are right below those tracks on a very steep incline. I don't wanna hear silt fence. If those things get tainted, is the county going to take responsibility to pay for us to A, have to put in a pump house, B, put in drill wells? If our water gets ruined in any way, is Ulster County going to take responsibility to keep our water for us in Pine Hill? There's springs. Springs are underground, springs can get tainted. Just moving anything up there, that's why you fill in the tracks, less disturbance. And it makes, these guys probably would be happy, let's keep it narrow, let's keep it, the community, as a community character, that is a nice little place. And it would be in compliance and would make everybody happy. Guys? You know, let's try to make it work so everybody can get it.
Thank you for your comment. The next person online is, the next person online is Sandra Gabrielli. Sandra, I'm gonna allow you to talk. Should be able to speak now.
Hi there, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. The whole room
Great,
can hear you.
I have property that runs adjacent to this railway by the Woodchuck Hollow Bridge as well. And I just wanted to voice my opinion and say that I agree with most of the people that have spoken earlier from Pine Hill, that I am absolutely against this highway through the woods, because we have 28 that you can barely get cell service on. So if you want to invest $15 million in something, you should try to do that around High Mount, because if there's a real emergency in those woods, you can't get in contact with anyone. So I know you want emergency vehicles to run through there, but how's someone going to call? We have children, we have families, we come up there for the peace and quiet. What Ron said, 30 parking spots for 150,000 people to come through our backyards is really horrible. And I am wholeheartedly standing with my neighbors in Pine Hill and want you to know that I'm really against this. If you want to do something quaint and keep it narrow, ADA compliant with the 36 inches, like has been mentioned earlier, I would support that. But this highway through the woods, as Michelle put it best, really needs to be rethought and needs some consideration of those that are going to be directly affected by it.
Okay, thank you.
That's pretty much it.
Okay, the next person, we have one more speaker from the audience and then one more speaker from online or overall. If anybody, I don't see anybody else signed up online, but Catherine, I'm sorry, I can't read this. Catherine.
Noah.
Noah, okay.
I have several different questions. I don't need to speak. I don't need the microphone. I can talk about it. The first one is, you guys had said that there is a local share that's going to have to be put in for this. How are we planning on raising that local share?
The county has responsibilities, the county has responsibilities for the local share. There are other sources of funding for the local share as well. It could be state funds, and the only thing they can't be is federal funds.
So it's not gonna be Shandaken residents.
That's correct.
That are going to, this is gonna be all of Ulster County.
That's correct, or and it may be substantially less relative to our ability to get other grants.
Is this already budgeted?
The county, as part of its signing the contract, has a responsibility for first instance funding.
That wasn't the question. I asked if it was budgeted. Is
Well,
it budgeted already?
What ends up happening is the county doesn't budget capital projects, they issue bonds for capital projects.
So that was my first question. My second question is the Woodchuck Hollow Bridge. When's the last time you guys took a look at this bridge?
Me about 2 months. Chris, about the same?
So you guys saw the cracks in the foundation of the,
Yes, definitely.
all right, so how are we gonna repair those?
Well, we can, and we have, it's kind of technical to get into the process, but,
We're not stupid, explain it to, we have to understand.
well, it depends on how deep the cracks go. We use the pins, grout, and, different types of methods to do that. Sometimes they're anchored in mechanically. So it just depends, but we'll fix it, though. We've done this so many times. We have structural engineers. bridge designers.
that built into your budget?
Absolutely, absolutely. We can,
So you be.
Sir, we're taking questions from
the question was for the building to the back.
Catherine right now, so I'm sorry. I wanna make sure we have 3 minutes for each person. Go ahead.
Yes, built into the budget, I'll piggyback on yours, yes, absolutely. We did the feasibility study for this project, and the restoration of the stone piers were part of the cost. And there's a line item for that based on other projects that we've done. Our company's been doing structural design for 50 years.
Let me ask you along that.
So now-
Along
Anything
that,
else?
So now you have emergency vehicles that are gonna have access points onto Woodchuck Hollow Bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emergency vehicles will be able to cross Woodchuck Hollow Bridge, yes.
From where? From Station Road, from Mill Street, where are we?
It could be from Station Road, could be from not Mill Street goes under the bridge, so Station Road, yes. Where it meets the grade.
So the road, the bridge on Bonnie View Avenue, that's a one-lane bridge. Are you guys taking that into consideration?
Yes,
Are you expanding it?
no, the trail's only 12 feet wide. That's a driving lane out here in 28, that's the only width it is.
No, I'm talking about the one-lane bridge that's on Bonnie View.
it's about 10 feet wide.
It's about 10 feet wide. It got washed out.
Yeah, Chris, you remember that one? That's not it. Oh, that's not.
Happens, what, Michelle, this year?
So we can get you an answer to that.
We can, the exact answer, but no, it's not a problem, even if it's 10 feet wide, that's fine.
Okay, and then my last question is this a done deal? Like, whether we have opinions or not, or anything to that extent?
Absolutely not.
It's not a done deal.
No, that's why you're here tonight. We want to hear what you have to say. This is the outreach statement.
Sorry, that's time.
Just one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
The project having federal funding, remember this, there's a document called the design report. Okay, this information from this meeting will be part of that document. That document will detail how we're going to do the design. There was a question here about how many visitors do we expect. We'll have that answered in that document. We'll have a little bit more detail on the repair of those piers in the document. We're in the middle of figuring that out right now, the details of it. So we didn't want to get too far ahead without hearing from you all here. That's why we're doing this now, and why we don't have some of those answers is because we're doing this before we get too far ahead. Okay, so that's I want everybody to understand that before you walk out of here tonight.
Okay, the next person who has a question online, and this will be our last question for the evening, and then we will move into the opportunity to visit directly with the consultant team. The next person, the next person is online, so we're taking 10 people tonight. If you have more specific questions, you can ask them after this part directly to the consultants. The next person is John and AC Michelati, and I'll allow you to speak. John, you should be able to speak. We can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
The first question I have is, the covered bridge is normally closed by DEC in off-season. Has the DEC agreed to keep that bridge open, and who's going to maintain it during the winter?
The bridge currently has pedestrian access across it, even in the wintertime. That's partially good reason why the parking area for the trail, which will be free to people using the trail, will be located so you could walk across the bridge and access the trail from that point. Maintenance of the bridge will still remain with the current maintenance program and not be part of this project. We don't expect excessive wear from the pedestrians for this project, but if something occurs in the future, then we'll work something out.
My second question is specifically, can you give me a name of who makes the final decision on what gets built?
Yes.
Not a committee, but a name.
It is a committee. Yeah, there's a committee, and the names were, and on one of the earlier slides. We talk about it as a group, and then it goes to the county legislature as well. There is no one person, there's a group, and people with lots of experience with this.
Neighbors?
And.
People who live in Pine Hill?
Yes, your comments here become part of our decision making and part of the record.
No, but I'm asking the committee, is it comprised of people that live in Pine Hill? Or is it
Exactly.
your friends and family and whatnot that is spread out all?
No, it's not friends and family.
But are these, I'm
But
simple
it-
question,
it's
are these people who are
agencies.
impacted? Or are they nameless folks?
There's a list on the slide, actually, can you bring that back up? We can share that, and then I'm gonna close this comment period, we're gonna break up.
Are they
And I'm
residents?
I'm going to show you the list, and then you can see it. So, and then we're gonna close this comment period, or this question and answer session, really, you can,
There's more questions.
yes,
You can address them.
you can, let me finish. So, the next step for this, if you did not get your question asked or answered here in this meeting, we're going to have 2 more public meetings if we continue with the project. And we also have plenty of opportunity to ask questions on the Participate Ulster site. We have forms here that you can fill out and you can ask your questions there, and we will get back to you and we will share the answers either in written format or in our design documents. So there will be plenty of opportunity for exchange. And as I mentioned, adjacent landowners can make one-on-one meetings with us. These are the project advisory committee members. We have several people who are Shandaken residents. You can see who they are there. And then there are also people who are part of ORDA. We've had about 5 or 6 ORDA staff participate, some of them who are up in Lake Placid, some of them who live here in Shandaken. And we also have agencies like DEC, Jeff Ryder is here from DEC. So I'm going to end this portion of the meeting. I'm going to end this portion of the meeting, and we're going to move into, if you'd like to ask a question, you can ask it directly to the consultants or Dennis Doyle. I'm gonna be online and speaking with people who have questions online for the remainder of the meeting. I don't know.
Excuse me, once you shut this down, anybody's concern is no longer going to be recorded.
Divide and conquer.
This is not a public
So it's
hearing.
very disingenuous of you to do that.
This is not a public hearing. This is a.
It's not a public.
You have a comment form you can fill out?
In the interest of redundancy, please, everybody here may not want to ask the same question. The only thing I see here is consistency. You're coming in here trying to sell this here, push it through. You couldn't even come up with a number that gentleman asked you as far as projected numbers. Oh, we'll let you know as we go along. Basically, your whole game plan here, as far as I'm concerned, is the devil's in the detail. Make sure you have a magnifying glass and read it well.
Right. So.
Everybody's here, just let them ask their question.
Yeah, let's-
You want to divide and conquer?
So.
You're gonna take individual questions one-on.
We wanted to give them out, you understand, let me explain this. The understanding here is that effectively what we're trying to do is make sure that landowners that had individual concerns, which seems to be the conversation that we're having so far, that we can understand where you live, we can understand what your concerns are, and we can seek to essentially try to address them and set up the one-to-one meeting.
But they
Rather than trying
You want to say as a group,
Right.
because we've not seen this in the past work out well on the basis. Our power is being unified, not one-on-one. Right?
Exactly.
So no, we don't need the one-on-one. Take questions from the taxpayers, the people who live here, the people who abut, they're the ones who are
We
affected.
understand.
The fact that the Shandaken resident,
All right, here's what we're gonna
you
do.
know, we like to see a Pine
Here's
Hill
what we're gonna
resident.
do.
Let him do it.
For us.
Let him say something.
So here's what we're gonna do, all right? Given the fact there seems to be a sense that the group wants to hear individual questions as a group.
Yeah.
Then my sense would be we'll extend this for another 25 or 30 minutes. And I'm gonna ask people to raise their hands and I will call on that.
Before you do that, I can't read what's up here. Can you tell me if anybody on that list is from Pine Hill?
The Pine Hill Association members are on that list.
Who? Where are they from?
Calling the current executive director of Pine Hill Community Center.
She doesn't live in Pine Hill.
Kevin Van Larkin.
Let me ask the question.
Kevin Van Larkin lives in Pine Hill.
So can you all, hold on a second, do you have a specific question that you would like to ask?
I have 30 of them.
Well, I'll give you 3 minutes.
I
How's
will
that?
take your 3 minutes.
There you go.
One, are you aware that there is no cell service to the majority of the trail? No way to contact emergency services?
Yeah.
Yes. And you're still gonna go ahead with it, or are you going to provide cell service?
So what I would tell you is the county is working furiously to try to provide additional.
I've been hearing that for 5 years.
May
It
I
hasn't
finish?
happened.
You know, if you ask a question, I want to answer it, you have to
sorry.
at least let me answer the question.
I'm sorry.
All right, so the county is working furiously with regard to trying to improve both emergency service communications up here. And with respect to cell services, we're currently looking at feasibility studies for multiple locations in and around the Shandaken and Route 28 area. Right, we're currently in the process of opening bids to essentially improve our communications on Tanchi Mountain, which is down in the town of Olive. Right, we're currently working on a number of different other locations relative to that, and every time that we do a public safety radio tower, the county's current policy is.
Okay, you've answered my question. Go on.
Currently, policy is to essentially allow the cell carriers on that tower. Right, we've been having discussions with Robert Drake from the town board and from the
We
town.
have been talking to the same people. I
Okay, so
understand.
understand that we're extremely concerned, not with respect to this project, but with respect to, public safety generally.
In terms of the seeker program, where are you in that? And have you scheduled any hearings, public hearings under seeker?
So the county is designated itself as lead agency with respect to seeker. The process that we go through in the design process includes a seeker determination, and a NEPA determination was covered in this law.
But part of the seeker process and public comment and public hearings, which have not taken place.
That's not quite correct, but I will tell you that we will go through the necessary requirements under the state environmental
When
quality.
did you have a public hearing based on the seeker process?
I will tell you that we will complete the secret process according to the statute.
All right, positive comment? Sure.
Thank you. You guys are a bunch of naysayers, I gotta say, it's terrible.
You want to listen to that? Hey, you have your property abutted and then talk.
I live
Okay?
right across from the railroad tracks in Big Indian.
Whoa, hold on.
We're gonna have one person speaking at a time, one person speaking at a time, okay? Sorry, the teacher's coming out at me, one person speaking at a
All
time,
right,
so
sorry,
we hear
sorry
you.
if I offended your sensibilities. I'm just saying.
Okay, let's not get into personal,
Okay.
just one speaking, person speaking at a time, go ahead.
You know, it's a positive thing. It's a great thing. If you've been down to the rail trail in Shandaken, you know how great it is. You guys that bought your property up here, you probably, and you're next to the railroad, the Ulster County has had an easement for 100 years, or whatever it is, or should.
Sure.
Interrupting is not
Yeah.
building a community.
Tell us where you live.
Let's hear.
I live in Big Indian, across the street from the railroad tracks. Firehouse Road, Chuck Road. I grew up here in Shandaken, Pine Hill, Big Indian, Mount Pepper. I've been around here since I was a kid. Ulster County on my own. You guys are neighbors, right? You see the people walking on the trail already? Don't they already look in your windows and your doors? Pine Hill's a very close community. They're not looking in your house. I'm just making an example.
Stop reading, bro.
All right. So listen, tell me, you're all there, our community. Aren't you in a close, tight-knit community anyway? People are walking on a path. I cross-country ski that path when it snows. I walk up there all the time. I don't see a big super duper influx. I'd love to be able to ride my bicycle up there. Just a nice little path. I don't think they're talking about a highway. You guys are exaggerating. They're putting 30, maybe 30 parking lots at one end and 17, what was it? How many at the other end?
About 15 to 15.
Yeah. And I see the rail trail. I'm there. It was like a beautiful day today. It was busy. It's not crowded. It's not a highway of people. It's people that maybe aren't getting out to enjoy the trails going up to Bel Air, which I hike those all the time too, and snowshoe in the winter. But, you know, then they can enjoy the country like you do. You think?
Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
All right, these guys did a great job of this.
So,
Stone Ridge, go to Stone Ridge.
I'm gonna try to go to somebody who hasn't had an opportunity to talk. Anybody didn't have, I'll get you, sir, anybody didn't have an opportunity to speak, would like to speak?
Right here.
Okay.
So I have a lot of property on that abuts the tracks. I see so much garbage right now on 28. I don't know if everybody else does. It's disgusting, okay? Who's gonna clean that? Is that in your feasibility study? Who's cleaning it? Who's maintaining it? Where is the security for all of us? Is there somebody that's gonna have, maybe they can't get a car, a gator? Is an officer gonna go back and forth a couple of times a night to check? I've had many people come down my property. Using my road. And listen, they're not doing anything, I get it, they're walking, but I'm responsible for that. They sue me if they get hurt, okay? So what I'm trying to say is, in your feasibility, I work for the government, I did a lot of feasibility studies. Have you done that? Safety, maybe bathrooms, sanitation, any kind of sanitation, and again, you gotta maintain it. If you don't have the money right now to proceed past the first phase, where is this money gonna come from? I can tell you where it's gonna come from, our pockets. Because where else is it gonna come from? Grants? Where is grants going? We know what's going on in the world. You think they care about a trail? People are getting killed. Now I'm gonna tell you something. That was my nephew that was killed. That police officer was my nephew. And we're here over talking of a trail. Okay? I think everybody gotta get it together. It's a beautiful thing when everything else is done, okay? For the man, I don't know where he went, but he lives in Big Indian. How about taking a ride down Big Indian? That's where I live, right across the street from a pig that has a mattress that's been laying there. Comics containers all over, but you want a trail that makes, wow, it's beautiful. It's beautiful because you're going down there to go in and down there, and meanwhile, 28, the wall is falling down. That wall is just gonna come out and wipe somebody out. People, we gotta get it together here. This is terrible. This is really terrible.
Thank you.
I'm here generally representing watershed conservation concerns, unlimited, things like that. I will say, you guys, just because there's no direct environmental impact in your course of construction, the residual impacts on this phase are real. The residual impacts on the next phase are terrifying. And if you ever try to convince people that you can connect this all the way down to art, you will destroy decades of work of watershed conservation to make Esopus Creek one of the finest fishing creeks and now a wild fishery. All right, you're talking about bringing people to recreate in the spawning headwaters, okay? And that's not, I know you guys don't have a huge concern here, but it's part of the war, right? And don't forget, I'll take it to the landowners, okay, there's 2 wars here. You can try and defeat this thing and you might. But for the people who have land next to the trail, screen for your privacy, right? They're in design phase, so design tons of trees or whatever it takes to give you your quality of life back, okay? You don't know how this is gonna go, but there's a fight there, so go fight it, all right? When I moved here just 20 years ago, I lived in Phoenicia. Everybody I knew was against the Bel Air project, everybody, 100%. Then I became the director of the Pine Hill Community Center. And you know what? I met all of you guys from Pine Hill. And a lot of you wanted what was going on there because it meant revitalization of your downtown. What I see in this room, guys, this flip-flop of a town that wanted a massive, massive construction on the top of the mountain, now saying, you know what? We've seen what unbridled development does. We've seen what over recreation does to a community, and we don't think we want it. So that's a big, like, pump the brakes moment. I think these people need to.
Never wanted to go.
It was mixed. I didn't say 100%. I said I saw the other side. And what I see tonight is almost an entire community flipping, right? You have a few people that want it because they think the change is good. And you have a lot of people that have said, I've seen what happened. And I don't think I want that in my backyard. So please listen to these people, right? And if they want to spend another hour here and talk it out, please work late.
Yes, sorry.
Anybody else?
We're gonna go to online, then we'll come back.
No problem, thank you.
So the person online is Gil Rubin. I believe you wanted to speak. I'm gonna allow you to speak now. Gil, are you able to speak?
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good.
Okay.
We're in the car. We are Pine Hill residents.
You hold the phone.
I'm gonna hold the
So
phone.
my name is Gil Rubin. My family has owned a house on Bonnie View Avenue since 1946. So I think I grew up there. I spent my summers and weekends there. My concern is that you're talking about a limited number of parking spots, but you're using where Ron's house is as an access point, which also means that Bonnie View Avenue will be an access point. I have 2 grandchildren. There are no sidewalks on Bonnie View Avenue, and it's barely wide. It's wide enough for one car. Where if people start using the spaces in front of Ron's house, where are they parking? They're going to be parking on Bonnie View Avenue. I mean, there's no sidewalks. How about thinking about the safety? And I'm not the only one who has grandkids who live on Bonnie View. How about thinking about the safety of the children? Because when they walk, they have to walk in the street. Have you thought at all about that aspect of it? Thank you.
He's not done. I would like to say something also. I'm Deborah Rubin. If I may, there's a lot of parts of Bonnie View Avenue that have been gouged out by the storms that we've had, and they have not been repaired, which means that the road, the street, is even more narrow than it normally is. Has anybody thought about repairing the streets? Also, the woman who talked about cell phone. It's impossible when you're up there walking on that trail if you need help. These are things that you really need to consider and you really need to think about. We are people, all of us, people of Pine Hill. We live there, we love it there. We don't want all this extra traffic and all of these extra problems. I love using the rail trail. We go down to the Shandaken rail trail down in Boyceville and we love it. But they have much more area where there's parking. They have a whole parking lot. We don't have that access.
Okay,
So-
Gil, we have about 20 more seconds.
No,
We're done. Thank you.
We're done.
Oh, okay.
And we want to say hello to all of our friends who were sitting there in that room. We're coming home. We're on our way home.
So.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just, I mean, it's important focus stuff I can go through, but a lot of people touch on stuff. This is my wife, our parents, my children, my grandchildren, and my great grandchildren, 4 generations are coming up here. I've been coming in up here since 1969, 1970. This is a home away from home for us. It's pristine, it's beautiful. People come up here to get away from, lack of a better term, the rat race that's down there. I understand advancement, technology, you have to keep up with times. But again, I'll reiterate what I said earlier, the way this has been projected and conveyed to the people was nothing substantive with definitive numbers. I asked before about sanitation, security. reflect on taxes, maintenance, further study, but you really want to make people feel at ease and show them that you really got your heart in this, maybe you could have answered some of these questions up front. Not saying they were gonna get on board with you, but at least I'd walk in and say, you know what? The guy was smart enough to think that, hey, this is a concern for the people, not I'll get back to you. Another thing, environmental study, EPA, we spoke about animals, we spoke about everything else. What about the human aspect? I'm not a doctor or a physicist, maybe somebody is, but I think free salt is sort of a carcinogen. Where are those ties going to be done, picked up, removed, taken out, where, at what cost? Breaking them up, they're rotting, falling apart, the dust and debris that blows. May I mention a word in correlation to that? Remember, we thought asbestos was okay back in the 70s. A lot of people paying a big price for that now. I lost our father for that, from asbestos, through ignorance of government and things that went on, that people had told you it was okay when it wasn't. I'm not Erin Brockovich, but God bless her. Maybe we need a person like that in this room to get this ship and write it again and get it on course. Thank you for your time.
I can answer a few of those if you'd like. The railroad ties will be removed and disposed of as part of landfill cover material, just like the one from the Shandaken one were, in a New York State DEC approved landfill. They use it to reduce the amount of blow and wind driven debris from the landfill. They use it in intermittent layers and it's buried in land. So that, and then they're completely removed. We use the sifter and removed all that. Then it's capped by the top course and base courses of the trail. Now, this is all the materials being tested, sampled. We know everything that's in the ground there, the creosote, any remnants from the railroads, and they're all addressed individually in our hazardous mitigation plan. Okay, so that's taken care of. Yeah, and also the safety, the maintenance, all of that is done in a maintenance plan that comes with the project when it's completed. We had one published for the Shandaken Rail Trail. We have yet to identify everything that goes in there, but sanitation and safety is definitely two of the items in there. So we need input from you, the number of visitors. We have a variable amount of parking spaces right now. We're trying to figure out what's available, how many we can put in, what ends up the final number helps dictate how many visitors come, along with updated traffic studies from Route 28 pass by traffic. So that number, to be the most accurate, needs to happen after the design is very close to being completed.
May I rebuttal to that, please? Yeah. My point being, you're saying here, your recovery rate, as far as the extraction process, can you tell me it's gonna be 100%?
No, it won't be 100%.
Okay, that being said, please humor me. Airborne particulates, wind up here, wind up there, my lungs, your lungs, this woman's lungs here, everybody else. Putting that aside. May I finish, please?
Well, you want to go
May
ahead.
I finish? It's a two-part question. Please, let me address it. What about the stuff you can't see, that when it's grounded into the ground, like the young lady mentioned over there about Pine Hill, the pristine springs and water? I'm directly below this. I have a well. From the back of our house is 325 feet. We have two parcels. I probably cover, you said it's, excuse me, you said it's a 2.5 mile project?
Yes.
I probably cover a third of a mile of that alone.
Is there any creosote coming into your yard right now?
We don't know.
I don't know.
Tasted.
I don't know.
I can tell you that much.
Well, the ties will be removed and then capped and encapsulated in the trail system we put in there, so there won't be any more migration of it at all. There won't be anything contaminating streams. We're gonna fix a lot of the drainage problems on the corridor that creates the erosion that puts the sediment into the Esopus and all the tributaries affecting the trout. So, please be, we got through the entire Shandaken Rail Trail project without one violation from the New York City DEP on managing erosion and construction particles. And they were there every day, almost all day. We know what we're doing on this. That's not gonna be an issue here.
You being a construction company, you guys know better than
We
anyone.
are not a construction company.
Architects, whatever you are, planning,
Engineering.
engineering, even better. And go top of the echelon. So every project is different. As much as things are the same, they're different. So only that constant is change. And just remember your words that you said here. The water will not be polluted and or. You're basically professing to the public here, you're guaranteeing this be 100% pristine no after effects, nothing residual, end law. You said that.
I didn't say.
Yes, you did. You said the water will not be polluted. Please, can you read the minutes back? Can you read those minutes back?
So I think we're not asking questions anymore, we're being confrontational, does
No,
anybody?
it's not confrontational. I'm not looking
Does
at
anybody else have something to say?
I do.
I'm gonna go in the back of the room, if you don't mind.
You said.
I'm sorry, sir, ma'am, I'll get you next, I apologize, you had your hand up first.
You had, an agreement with the Ulster Delaware Railroad to keep the tracks on the top of High Mountain?
The county currently has a permit that was issued to Durham. That extends to the area that is shown on that one slide. The county intends to honor that permit and make sure that they have access to that switch and be able to do the runaround and they move that trail up. So the answer is yes.
Okay, what happened to the proposal to run the train down to the Pine Hill Lake?
As I said, when we started, the decision made from the county legislature was to essentially make this section of the corridor trail only. Ma'am?
Hi, I live in Mount Tremper, right by 100 feet from the railroad tracks. My property is about 6 months out of the year from the Rail Explorers bikes. I have been fighting and begging the county for 6 years for mitigations. I have never really heard them ever mention any care for my property value. And I think that I'm pretty shocked that they haven't learned anything. And they should have made it a priority before they do anything further, that they will announce that they will be planting trees, shrubs, fences for every single property that matters.
Right.
And if they did that, maybe there wouldn't be this energy in the room here. I have to watch 30,000 people go by my property 6 months out of the year. They built one fence the first year of the contract, and that was it. No one else got anything else in terms of privacy. And it's everything to be in your backyard and to have thousands of people streaming by. So I often don't feel like the county really cares about individual property owners, and I would suggest that you have them either put it in writing or you have them stop everything. And first, they do the privacy screening before they go any further with their project. And I think it's the county executive. I think you need to go beyond, go to the newspaper, go to the executive, don't just trust the people in charge.
No.
When they built the Shandaken rail trail, there was one customer, New York City. They had private backroom meetings with New York City. They went like this, it meshed. You have woken a sleeping bear here in Pine Hill. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. We have
Jeff might be able to answer this, I'm not sure, but has there been a study of wildlife corridors in the Pine Hill area that might be affected by the construction process? The reason I ask is because last summer, Florida did a lot of work up on the mountain, using helicopters, pile drivers, and other heavy equipment. And every single animal on the mountain came down into Pine Hill that I have never seen before. What's gonna happen when this trail is constructed? How will you protect the wildlife?
So we have done some work on the corridor with respect to the presence of threatened and endangered species.
That's not what I'm asking.
I'm hearing you, but that work has been done, right? The corridor does exist as a corridor now, so the clearing is limited, right? And we're literally working within the area that's already disturbed by the tracks themselves. So you think of it that way, I think that's an appropriate way to think about it.
Originally, when I heard about the project, this is a thing, I'll let me say this.
Okay.
I was very concerned that with the trail being built, it would interrupt amphibians and reptiles. But put in a trail where you don't have rails, and all of a sudden the amphibians and reptiles that haven't been able to move back and forth for the past 150 years can move back and forth. That might be a positive.
It is, and that's exactly what happened on the Shandaken. Ones that could never, they would get stuck, the turtles would get stuck inside the rails and would die there because they couldn't get out. Those are just one example. We witnessed that every time.
So.
For one, sorry.
That's our problem.
Sir, in the back.
Yes, you know,
I don't have any stake in the game. I actually come here thinking, ooh, this would be good, but listening to all you people here, I'm 100% with you. But what I would say is, I live in High Mountain. I'm just above the mountain, and I drive 15 minutes to Margaretville to go shopping. I drive 15 minutes to go to Boise-Ville to go shopping. For $10 million, what I don't understand is, I'll drive 15 minutes to the Ashokan Rail Trail if I want to walk it. There's so many trails up here.
Yeah.
I'll go there if I want a flat trail. So why would we waste $10 million in today's society to put the exact same thing in, that's literally 15 minutes away? I struggle with that, and I don't want to, I've been coming up here for 35 years. I want the peace and quiet. That's why I come here. My kids tell me, why don't we buy it at Jersey Shore? Because I want to get back away from the rat race. Okay? I come up here every weekend to fish, hunt, have my own peace and quiet. So I can feel for these people. But monetarily, I got a problem with wasting $10 million. And I can't, I get funds, I get we're getting a grant, whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, it all comes back to us. And I'm sure our taxes will go up somewhere along the line. You can't tell me it won't. And going back to and I know you did a feasibility study, but going back to my original question on, was this built into the budget? A lot of questions have been asked after, and you're still stating, well, we have to get to that, we have to look at that. So when you have to look at things on a continual basis, monetarily, it continues to add up. So you can shake your head, my friend.
I'm not shaking my head.
It's been a long time.
I am right behind
And
you.
I'll tell you, you're taking a day out on that. Yes, thank you.
So, well,
I'm sure everybody here, if they wanted to walk the trail and didn't want to walk the railroad tracks today, would go to the Ashokan, whatever it's called, rail trail.
So-
That's 15 minutes down the road and be very happy.
so thank you. All in the back, anybody else? Going once, right next to you, sir.
Okay, I've been through the proposal, and there's a lot of things in there I have some questions about, but I will start with one. You're talking about phase one, you're gonna have a trailhead at Bel Air Beach Day area. How the heck are you gonna get all the way up to the corridor from all the way down from the beach? Because you said the bridge is 40 feet above the creek, it's on top of a steep rail embankment, and then you've got a slope coming up from the nearest parking lot, all the way up to there, and all it says is they're going to develop access.
I'm sure, may I, sir?
Yeah.
There's no indication you guys are gonna do anything about parking in Pine.
So, may I? Thank you. So to answer your question, there's a design solution for that to allow access to come up to the trail in an ADA acceptance map. That was part of the feasibility study.
It's not in here, though.
But I will tell you that there was looked at with respect to be able to get out from Bel Air the Bel Air, day use area up to the trail itself.
Well, let me make one closing comment.
Okay.
It's interesting you're applying for a transportation grant supposedly to develop other ways of motorized access.
We've actually
And you're
received
busy
it, sir.
talking about how many parking lots you're gonna need for the people who aren't gonna be driving.
We've actually received the grant. So just so you know, we're not applying for it, we've actually received it.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is, you know, you've spent, I don't know how much money on a research here. Okay, obviously, partner with, we just got paid a ton of money to do their research. Okay, I think it's an ill-conceived plan, it's not even close to being presentable at this point. Maybe you should spend some more dollars of taxpayers' money, myself being one of them. And I'm sure everybody else in this room is also. And come up with a suitable plan. This is an insult to everybody in here. As professional engineers, you should be embarrassed even to say this.
It's pretty warm in here. Does anybody else have something to say? Does anybody want to split in and go one-on-one? So with that,
When is the next meeting?
so we haven't scheduled it yet, but we will schedule it as we complete some of the work that we have to do. I would urge everyone
that if they have specific concerns about a specific property, to schedule a meeting and let us know what those concerns are.
I would just ask on a general meeting, I'm a little bit away from here, I only got a 4-day turnaround in the mail when he sent me a registered letter. When we get there. Got it.
So, anyone else, ma'am?
How long this project will take? And we're gonna deal all this talk and that.
It will take a full construction season, so as soon as the ground's thawed until probably September, October. There probably will be some plantings and things like that carrying over to the next year. So a full calendar year, maybe it's in 1 month.
Next year,
What's that? 2025, not this year, 2025. Beginning around this time next year. A whole year from then, so 2025 to 2026.
You mentioned that there's a comment section on the website. Will those comments entering public record that gets reviewed by organizations like DEC that need to approve subsequent phases of the project?
So, DEC has a permit approval as to other agencies. So we'll address the comments as part of NISTOD's work with respect to the design document. Those comments will go into the design document.
In full?
Yeah.
Like as an appendix?
I'm not sure of the specifics, but, they have to be addressed within the design document. So don't hold me to any of the specifics. One more.
I just want to say something about. So, Chris is gonna pull up the website for us. I just want to show you where you go to make your comments, in case it's, up there. Well, while he's pulling that up, I'm gonna let you say your.
So I think I have one in the back, sir, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm Rob Stanley, now in the wheelhouse of Main Street. God bless you folks that have land adjacent. I'm looking at it from a commercial landowner, and I'm looking at economics, viable all these things, and really the proximity of your properties and such, I get it. You guys should get together, organize, and I don't think this divided country.
Yeah.
But if this project doesn't, why are we bypassing the economic center that's supposed to benefit? Being in Pine Hill, there's no interconnection directly to Pine Hill itself. You go to the federal road, they go behind it. There's nothing for those people to travel into Pine Hill, maybe generate some business in Pine Hill. I mean, we need some infrastructure, and I think this is an ideal marriage of projects. You can have this greater project that's around in Pine Hill, and this can come in to help us get sidewalks to Main Street, so dilated. Secondly, on the turn that you have, the big tent, the big front thing, Pine Hill has a water system in there, and I would ask that the town request constant monitoring of those springs during construction, because those caverns, God knows what they're held up with. We have our suspicions that it may be railroad ties, but a big jostling could add something to our water that we may not need. So I'd ask the town to ask or require monitoring of those water stations during the construction phase.
Thank you for those comments.
I'd also like to see us further look at alternative parking plans and other ways to tie it into Main Street.
I do want to say one of the things that we've done on our other trails that we've built is we've installed wayfinding. Yes, it's very difficult for us to move the corridor. So what we end up doing in those areas is we look at wayfinding areas. There's some great examples of along the Empire State Trail, which is the former Waldo Valley Railroad corridor in Rosendale, where they've used wayfinding to direct people down to Main Street. We can do that here. You have a comment, Nick?
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, there's no plan to Pine Hill, because that's what Ron was talking about. People don't know that road. That's basically a cul-de-sac. And then roads, you don't want a lot of traffic going through that period. So that's why I believe you have bypass and access to Pine Hill. You want people coming in from Main Street, right? From Pine Hill. Second thing is, this has been alluded to in our comprehensive plan. And I believe your name was on it, Rob, that connecting all the rails and the rail trail system, that comprehensive plan was put out 15 years ago. When we were all fighting the resort, we were all talking about, we don't need a big blue resort, we need eco-tourism. Well, rail trails are eco-tourism. And I do feel sorry for the people that are gonna lose their privacy. I live right next to the bridge. I live next to the Pine Hill Museum. My grandkids used to live with me. I didn't flip out about strangers coming to the museum because my grandkids were in the backyard. You know, we have to all live together. And I knew when I bought my house that they were gonna redo the bridge and I was gonna lose some of the land and indicated by the eminent domain. You know, we all have to live together. And I'm just gonna say it, if you bought your property next to a right of way, railroad, and you thought that it was never ever gonna be used.
I was told it was.
Take it back to the real estate agent, that's who misled us. Because the county, this has been it.
Yeah, I could sue the lawyer.
So, sir, if I may, sir.
It's not my, I'm having a conversation.
Yeah, but you're having a conversation with the rest.
She's talking to me.
Well,
I did.
So, anyone else? Are you finished, Tim? Anyone else? Going once?
Yeah, one question.
One question. This is the last one.
All right,
Okay,
so,
last one.
so you have phase one, you have phase two. Between the two phases, you've got about 56 properties that are owned by 46 different people. Now, some of these people live in Florida, they live in Pennsylvania, they live on Long Island. You may not be able to get much input from them because it could be, they could have vacant land. But most of the people in this room, it seems as though have one single family residential land. So if you take phase one, it could be maybe 20, 25 owners. And phase two, that might have actually 20 or 25 different owners. What percentage of the people in phase one that say, no, I don't want this, will you accept and say, you know what, we're not gonna do this project? What percentage will it take? Will it take 100% of those 25 people? Will it take 1% or 10%? Or are you gonna ignore everybody and just go ahead and do what you want?
So, what I would tell you is that it's not my decision to make. That's the first thing. Two is that what we hope to be able to do is address the concerns that were raised here this evening. So that when we finish this thing, that we have addressed the issues with respect to traffic, with respect to emergency access, with respect to privacy, with respect to water quality, all of those things that we heard tonight.
Could be a
And we-
surprise to you.
So we've been successful. We've built 4 rail trails. And we've been successful in terms of working with neighborhoods and working with neighbors and working with communities as we've done that work. So I would suggest that a couple of things. One is to stay engaged. We certainly appreciate the comments. And two is that if you want one-on-one meetings, please let us know. All right? So again, thank you very much. I saw that hand go up, but I called last question.
This one's kind of important.
This one's kind of important.
The bridge, we're going back to the Woodchuck Hollow Bridge.
So why don't we do this? We'll talk to you about Woodchuck Hollow Bridge separately.
Over it, let me finish it, come on.
This will affect anybody that's got land that's adjoining that creek that's right there.
Okay.
What are you guys gonna do to stop anybody from jumping off that bridge?
Put up a rail,
Put up a rail.
So
put up a rail.
now you're going to actually.
So-
block it.
No. So we're done. Thank you.
Would like to know how to make your comments. Chris, can you go to the participate alter site, go to the bottom, it says yes, books. Click there, make your comment there.
Comment right on that, right?